Life is full of big moments of change and transformation where we have to pivot on our path.
Those moments come with a wide variety of emotions, from fear and anxiety to joy and relief.
I'm Kelly Koopmans.
And I'm Mary Nam, and this is Hard Turn.
Good to see you, Kelly.
Nice to see you, too.
We're very excited about our guest today.
Yeah, this was a good one. I loved it was a different kind of genre for us, and including someone who is a high-profile public figure.
Yes.
Quite literally here in Seattle.
New Seattle Police Department Chief, Shon Barnes. Yes, full uniform when he came in, but he understood the concept of hard turn and how we wanted to talk about personal things. His past, how he came to this position, what life was like, and he really opened up. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and what was the moment or the instigating factor that made him go from a classroom to learning how to be a police officer?
Here he is. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I know you are a busy, busy man, Police Chief, Seattle Police Chief Shon Barnes. We're so glad that you made time to be here today, and we're so excited to talk to you about everything before you got to Seattle and became police chief.
Right. Before the badge, right?
Even before the badge, yes.
Even before the badge, yeah. I think, I wear a badge, I wear a uniform, but, I'm a human being before all of that. So the opportunity to talk about that with folks, get out of the office a little bit, I welcome it. So thank you for the opportunity.
And on that note, we were like, is it okay if we call you Shon rather than Chief?
Please,
So people, you'll hear us reference him as Shon for the purposes of this interview.
Our podcast is called Hard Turn, and the turn in your life that really fascinated me was the fact that you didn't graduate and go right into law enforcement. You did something else instead. Tell us what your job was.
Yeah, so I was a public school teacher before I was a police officer, but I had a couple of jobs along the way. I sold insurance for a little bit for a company. That really was not for me. That was back in the days where you collected premiums from people and things of that nature. But I really found teaching. I was working at a group home, and the person that I was working with was like, hey, they're looking for substitute teachers. You're working nice. This would be a great way to get a little extra money. So I did that. I was a Marine reservist. So I was a little bit regimented. And so they asked me to sub a PE class in middle school.
A middle school PE class?
Which is I'm like, hey, I supervise Marines. How hard can this be?
Especially walking in as the substitute teacher, and kids think we're going to have our way with this guy.
Please tell us how it went.
Listen, so I walked in, and it was just total pandemonium. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'd rather have the Marines than have these kids. And so I put them all in lines, and I had everyone doing calisthenics and screaming, 1, 2, 3, 1. And they were screaming so loud, and it was so much fun that the principal ran in, the door opened. His name was William Pill, and he thought something was going on, but when he saw everyone lined up, regimented, doing calisthenics, he fell in love with me from that point on. And he offered me a position at the high school. Well, first he extended me to stay for the rest of the year, which I did. I enjoyed it. I even went on the 8th grade class trip. And at the end, we got back. We were close to D.C. We got back from D.C. And I said, hey, you'll never see me again. These middle school kids are a bit much.
Thanks, Will Pill.
Thanks. Yeah, exactly. But he asked me to go to the high school as a history teacher, and they were looking for someone. And I was like, hey, I have a degree in history, pre-law, and so I started teaching as part of the lateral entry program. And so I did that, became certified, and that's kind of what my first official job was, with benefits.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned what you studied in college too, pre-law, history.
Yeah.
What got you interested in history, pre-law in the first place?
Probably shouldn't be telling you this, but, I went to college to get away from home. I'm from a very, very small town, population of about 2,000 people.
And where's home?
Murfreesboro, North Carolina.
Wow.
It's in the county where we give you Robert Vaughn, who created the cure for smallpox, is from there. Charles Gatlin, who changed the world. He created the Gatling gun. It was the first machine gun during the Civil War. Crank. He's from my hometown. And so it's an interesting place.
Wow. So it was your desire you want something bigger than this. You got to get out of there.
I just wanted to get out of there, and college was the easiest way to do it, and I wasn't really interested in the military at that time. And so I studied history because I knew I would be good at it. So I was raised in a home for the first part of my life with my grandmother. My grandmother was a domestic, and she worked for a guy, very nice gentleman, who owned a construction company. And back then, they would have something called the World Book and Encyclopedia Britannicus.
Yes, I had one of those.
Right, but the thing about the books is, before the internet, you would get new volumes every year. And so he would give the old volumes to my grandmother, and she would package them as gifts for me. And so during the summers, I would sit on the porch of that farmhouse, and I would read those cover to cover. And so I was just interested in just learning about things. I didn't realize that I was like doing schoolwork in the summer, and it became like our thing. And she's like, "Hey, I got W." And I'm like, "Oh," not knowing that she got the whole set anyway, right?
She's a resourceful lady.
I'm like, this lady loves me so much that I get a gift, and it's not even my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
And so when I went to college, I studied history. I always did well with history and social sciences in high school. And so I was able to get good grades and party.
Well, isn't that what everyone wants in college?
I had good grades and I partied. So
you were a natural reader. You're naturally well read. You were a student before you even realized that's what you were.
Before I even realized it, before I even realized it. And so that's how I got into history and pre-law. And at one point I thought I wanted to go to law school, but I never met lawyers, growing up. But once I got to college, meeting people, and all the lawyers that I met were miserable. None of them said, "Hey, you should come and join this." So I was like, maybe I should rethink that. Let me think about it. And so really teaching became a way for me to, make some money, take care of myself, and then figure out what it is that I wanted to do, whether I wanted to go to law school or not.
So now you are a history teacher, subbing as a history teacher. How did you get your foot in the door permanently to become a high school history teacher?
No, so I was subbing in the PE class, and then, where they needed me in the middle school. But I actually applied for a job as a history teacher in the high school on Mr. Pill's recommendation. And, of course, he hired me, and I went in and, learned how to write lesson plans and do work and things of that nature. And I absolutely loved it. And so that was my passion, teaching kids about history.
And part of that is where your hard turn comes in here, where you kind of get introduced to this other idea that you're going to do. You had this promising student who one day doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and the trajectory that set you on?
Yeah, that, after all these years, I still have to take a pause about that. We'll use his initials, TB. He was so smart, and I prided myself on being tough as a teacher. And he was an all-A student, and very quiet, sat in the back, not up front, but very smart. And he doesn't come to school one day because he came to school every day. And so I started asking around, "Hey, where's Tion?" And the kids go, "Did you hear?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, he committed a murder." I was like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, "Yeah, him and an adult did a home invasion robbery, and the homeowner was home, and that person ended up losing their life." And I just could not believe it, because as a teacher, I tried to be someone that they could turn to, right? These kids go through a lot. We had programs where kids got food and backpacks on weekends. We had programs that helped kids who could not read well, and they were embarrassed about it. I did field trips. I took kids to places kids never been out of the county, out of the state. And so I felt really bad about the fact that I did not, I missed it. I missed an opportunity to help someone. And that really, really bothered me. I had a conversation with our school resource officer at the time. And at the end of the conversation, he goes, "Well, you should be a police officer." I was like, "Why you say that?" He was like, "We need more people who think like you do." I thought all police officers thought in terms of problem solving and long-term things. And I said, well, let me look into it, started doing my research, and I found this concept of community policing. And I said, I like that. And there was an example of Greensboro, which was 4 hours away from me. I was living on the beach. I was doing not well. I thought I was doing well, right? I was making about $27,000 a year. I was living the life, and I applied and got the job. But I've always been drawn to a willingness to help people, and it's interesting because I come from a place where people don't have a lot, but people give a lot, and I think that's one of the things about me that I hope resonates with people in Seattle, right? Even though I don't have a lot, what little bit I have as far as policing and the officers that we have, I'm going to give a lot. I'm going to give absolutely everything. So I saw that from my grandmother. She's giving me encyclopedias that were given to her because she couldn't afford to give me what I needed at the time. My parents were very young. My mom went back to school. She became a physical therapist assistant. My dad started a business, but they were young, so they were building. And so while they're building and going to school and saving money and buying land and things of that nature, my grandmother filled in the gaps, and she did not have a lot, but she gave a lot. And I saw that, and that is probably one of my foundations. Just because you don't have a lot, that doesn't mean you can't give a lot.
It sounds like at your core, problem solving is big for you. It's important to you. So in terms of problem solving, when you look back at this individual student, what did you learn about his life and his situation that you felt like maybe you could have stepped in if you had known? What were those details that bothered you so much?
It bothered me that when I looked into the situation, school was his refuge. It was a place where he did not have to be bothered with adults at home who didn't care for him, or people who were in his life who were adults that would lead him in the wrong direction. It was a place where he could get food and not be bothered with, sharing or having an issue with that. Those books and reading, and the reason he did so well was his escape from what was going on. And so I try to bring that to my job as well. And I've always done that. No one says, hey, I want to use drugs when I grow up. No one says that in kindergarten or the 8th grade, or I want to be involved in human trafficking, or I want to hurt people. There's usually something that's there. And so what I try to bring the approach is, yes, we do have to hold people accountable, but is it too much to ask? Can we fix this problem? Can we bring in resources? What is it that we need to know? And I learned that from that situation. I don't know if I could have helped him. I think things happen sometimes the way they should. I don't know. But if I could go back again, I would have asked more probing questions. Hey, how are things going? Hey, I noticed, you made another A. Like, hey, what's your secret? Can you share it with everyone else? And maybe that would have led to a conversation. But, you have, 3 blocks of, 35 kids in each block. Classes are overfilled. As you know, we need smaller class sizes in this country. We need to invest more in education to reduce those class sizes. But, it's something that I missed. And, I just hope that, he's at peace with it. So.
Did you ever get a chance to speak with him?
No, I didn't. I have on occasion Googled his name, and I did see that he appealed his conviction. It did not go through, but that was the last time I had looked at it.
Let's talk more about that transition. Were you afraid to make a leap to an entire new career like that? How do you balance, especially when you have a family, of like, hey, I'm feeling this calling to change what I'm doing completely. There will be training involved with that, some unknown before you can establish yourself in that career. Was that an uncertain time for you or your family?
No, it wasn't uncertain. So I didn't have the family at that time. Okay. But I had met my wife at the time, and she was like, okay, I think I'm going to medical school at Wake Forest. And I'm like, hey, but I make $27,000 a year. Like, well, what are you doing?
You don't need to go to medical school.
Yeah, you don't really need to go to medical school. So let's just say I lost that argument.
Yes.
And so where she was close to where I applied. And so it kind of made sense to kind of make that transition. But it was really hard leaving teaching. I actually remember the first time I heard the buses, and I was like, I'm not going to school, right? I'm not going to school. But I started the academy in November, and I finished school June 10th. So between that time, I worked odd jobs. I worked as a tutor for the YMCA, tutoring kids during the summer. I drove a summer van. I did security at, then there was a bank headquartered there called Wachovia. I don't know if you ever heard of that or not. So I did security there. Just until the academy started, they did not have a before the badge program like we did where, you come in and you can do stuff. I wish we did. So I did that and then started the academy in November. And it was a great experience.
So then, ironically, you go back to school, this time as a SRO, school resource officer. So now you're with students again, but in a completely different role. How did that feel to you? Did you feel like going back to school and dealing with kids in a uniform, is that this felt like the right calling? Did it feel strange?
No, it felt right when the opening came up. It was a no-brainer. I knew I was gonna put in. I beat out everyone, obviously, and got that job. I ended up doing too much. I ended up helping with sports. I ended up, tutoring kids. I ended up teaching. So, I went to the literature block and I taught the Iliad and the Odyssey for the teachers. I'm like, hey, they're using me because they're like, we'll be back here if you need us. And so I'm doing that. I'm teaching a little bit about the Civil War. So I was like an all-inclusive SRO. Yeah. And I really enjoyed my time. The teachers loved me. The kids loved me. We had a really, really good time. And it was just one of those natural progressions that I really had in my career. So I've always had a big heart for our kids.
So if you started there and now here you are today and you're the chief of Seattle Police Department, was there a moment or a person along that journey where you learned, like, I've got a knack for this leadership style or a vision that can help me progress to really some of the highest position you can have in a department? Was there an instigating moment in there that gave you the confidence that, oh, shoot, I'm good at this?
Yeah, there were a lot of moments, I think, but the biggest moment came when in October of 2015, the Greensboro Police Department appeared on the cover of the New York Times as the model of racial profiling. And it was a study that had been done on the topic. And I was standing next to my chief at the time, and he said, hey, can you fix this? And I started really digging deep into this issue of racial profiling, more specifically the talk, that I have to give my son now because now he has his driver's license as of a week ago, and how to interact with the police department. And I realized that I've never had anyone who wasn't black ask me what should they do if they're stopped by the police. And so I started kind of digging into how we perform our jobs from a leadership standpoint. And it just was one of those natural progressions. I really like to prepare. That's one thing that I will say. I'm always fully prepared. Obviously, as you go up the ranks, you have different processes. You got to compete for sergeant, lieutenant, captain, and I hate to use a double negative. I'm trying to figure it out. I've only finished first in every promotional process I've ever been in. And that's because I believe in preparation. Preparation is the cure for anxiety for me. Preparation is the one thing I can control. And I am drawn to complexity. Complexity is like a moth to a flame. I'm not attracted to the easy way out. And so leadership was natural for me because that's what I want. I want to solve problems. I want to tackle complexity. I don't run away from tough issues. And certainly we have some ongoing challenges here in Seattle. But that's one of the things that drew me here. Like, I'm not looking for a retirement gig. I'm not looking for a place where I'm going to kick my feet up and go fishing. If you need me, call me. I want to solve problems because I want to make life better for people.
You mentioned that your wife long ago was going to medical school. Clearly, she is driven as well. And it sounds like, Shon, that you are both driven people, successful people. How do you balance that in a marriage? How do you balance very big ambitions?
Yeah. There is no balance. I'm just going to be honest with you. I've heard that, like, when I went to Madison, people talked about that. I was like, work-life balance? What are y'all talking about? To be honest with you, there is no balance. It's all about scarcity and making the most of the time that you have. My wife is a very high performer. She's way better than me, way smarter than me, works harder than me. I couldn't keep up with her if I tried. There is no balance there. I mean, she could, balance the kids. There's a funny movie I saw where this lady was driving a minivan. She was driving a minivan, changing a diaper, talking on television. I can't remember the movie. And I was like, I looked at her, I was like, yeah, that you could probably do that and do it well, parallel park at the same time. And so, I just try to keep up. I just try to keep up with her the best way I can. This is Breast Cancer Prevention Month or Awareness Month. My wife is a cancer researcher, specializes in breast cancer prevention. So it's prevention, treatment, and cure. She's on the prevention side. And so the work that she does, even with students, as Dean of the College of Science and Health at DePaul, is amazing. But there is no balance. And that's just where we are. I tell people all the time, you try to make the time that you can. Try not to worry about what other people think about your situation. Try to be successful and understand what that person needs in order to be successful. It's not always about you. Sometimes it's about other people, but there is no balance.
And I want to bring up the fact that you have 3 kids.
Yes,
it's a full house. It's a full family.
Yeah, 3 kids, Ashley, Aiden, and Addison. Ashley's our oldest. She's 29, but she's off on her own, master's degree from Cal Arts, adjunct professor of ballet and choreography at UNC Greensboro. She teaches at a dance studio as well, judges dance. She has more jobs probably than me, but she's a hard worker. And then Aiden's our middle child, 16, just got his driver's license, playing football. He's an adult learner.
Hold on. So what's that?
That means he learns the stuff he wants to learn.
Got you.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Everything
What's
else.
that term?
I'm trying to. That's a polite way of saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So
He'll appreciate that.
Yeah, he's an adult learner. That's what I would say about him. Doesn't need to be right now, but he is. Like, you still got to do Spanish homework, son.
Right.
And then our youngest is Addison. She's all the things. Smart, funny, talented. She's a wrestler, does everything, well. And so it's that balance there with them, trying to make sure that they feel supported as well.
One of the things that we like to kind of bring our conversation to a head is, we're all about when people face those big decisions for you to change careers or in any way that you see that manifest throughout your day-to-day work. I'm sure there are hard decisions all along the way. What advice do you have for someone who's facing this decision that could change the total direction of their life one way or another?
The advice that I would have for them is don't pay attention to the flowers. Pay attention to the seeds. Because oftentimes when you're trying to make decisions, you're focusing on what you can see. But the work is underneath the ground. And I've been talking to my team about this, the concept of gravitrophic and phototrophic, right? If you want something to grow, it has to grow toward gravity and through resistance first. That's gravitrophic. But we often focus on the things at the top, and that's not easy either because it's growing away from gravity and toward light, phototrophic. And so you have to, before you make a decision, and I did that before I made the decision to come here, understand what is the resistance that I'm going to face, what are the things that I'm going to have to dig through, what are the roots that I'm going to have to plant. Because sure, everyone says, well, the chief, you have a detail, you have 4 stars on, the money's decent, you're in a great city, but there's other things that you have to think about too, and that is the work that you have to do. You have to cultivate that soul, and that's where we are now in the Seattle Police Department. We have good roots, but we still need to do more work. And I think it is totally possible to see the Seattle that people remember, to see the Seattle that people talk to me about daily. But it's going to take some work, and it's going to take some patience, and it's going to take some consistency. There's nothing you can achieve, I think, in this planet without consistency. You can't increase your bank account without consistency. You can't get healthy without consistency. You can't have a great marriage, a great family. You can't raise your children to be moral and just people without being consistent in your message. And that's the one thing that we're trying to do here at the Seattle Police Department. So that's my advice to people. Look at it from what it is, and don't pay attention to what's on the surface. Pay attention to what's belief.
That's really good advice. I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's why we take our notes here.
I know.
Pay attention to the seeds.
How you have a very philosophical approach. You're well read. How is that being received? It's because it's a style. It's
Yeah,
a
it is a
style
style.
of leadership.
It is a
Not
style.
everybody has it.
Yeah.
And it might be new to some people.
Yeah, it may be new to some people, but I always say that every good leader should have 3 skills: human, technical, and conceptual skills. Depending on where you are, your human skills. Are you likable? Are you agreeable? Are you a good listener? Do you know how to interact with, different people and multicultural settings? Technical, can you do the thing, right? Do you know policing? Do you know what the law requires? You have to do that. And then conceptually, which is most important for my position, can you explain to people why you're doing things? And a lot of leaders fail because they miss that conceptual piece, and they just go to the human, I'm the chief, to do what I say. No. I like to take the time to talk to people, and I begin every staff meeting with something. I'll give them something that's on my mind, whether it's how to handle criticism, or how to organize your day, or this concept that I always talk about. What's your one-day resume? If you had to keep your job based on what you did today, if you had to write a resume about what you did today, would you keep your job, or would somebody else take it? And it gives people things to think about. So yes, I am philosophical, but I think people are enjoying it because it comes across as genuine, and I want them to know that I am genuine. And in the community, I think they like it too. People often describe me as being calm, and my wife just dies laughing.
She's like, what are you talking about?
What are you
What
talking
Shon do you know?
No, it's like, what are you talking about?
Well, we want to thank you so much for
Thank
taking
you.
time out of your
Yes.
busy day to chat with us and give us, just a peek into your life and what motivates you.
Absolutely. Thank you so
you.
much for the opportunity, and please have me back.
Thank
Will
you,
do.
Shon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there he is. What I liked about talking with Shon in this is that oftentimes in our line of work, when we have the news hats on, we very specifically need to know, what are your goals? What are your benchmarks? What are your tools you have in your toolkit to do this very public and very important job that affects people's day-to-day lives? And the opportunity with this to set some of that aside, but get more insight into the personal motivations and talking about those moments in life when he wasn't a police chief,
Right.
not even a police officer, that have informed his vision and philosophies on how he wants to do his job now.
Super fascinating to hear about that, and how he started off as a middle school PE sub.
Yes.
And how he thought that would be easy. As
Okay.
a parent of a middle schooler, when he said that that's what it was, and he went in there thinking they're gonna, nope. Oh my gosh.
Especially when it's a substitute teacher.
I know.
Because all those kids. It doesn't matter if you're in elementary school, middle school, or high school. You get a sub that
big
day. You're thinking,
target.
I'm getting a movie
No.
today. I know. And then here he is. He gets them all
Calisthenics.
lined up.
He used the word calisthenics.
Yes, he did.
Oh my gosh. Okay, and now he is the chief of Seattle Police. But also that heartbreaking moment where he talks about that one student
Yeah.
and how it changed the course of his professional life.
Yeah.
And feeling like, how did I not know? Why didn't I know? How could I have made a difference? You can tell that really, it still hurts.
Yeah. And I loved when you asked the question, have you been able to communicate with him? And I felt like watching him explain that he has not been able to, but how he checks the status of, his case. I can tell that there is something in him that wants to express
Yeah.
the impact that this individual has had on him. And I don't know, it just makes you wonder, at some point, will he be able to let him know, like, I know this was a horrific thing that you did and that happened, and you did your time, and it also really influenced Shon's life.
And not just to talk about his professional line of work now, but I mean, it really resonated. And I think it will with our readers, listeners as well, viewers. No one grows up thinking that, yes, when I grow up, I want to be a criminal. When I grow up, I want to do drugs. When I grow up, I want to hurt people. And he's right. And there's a reason. There's a reason why some people end up in those situations.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We have to touch on encyclopedias. Because
yes,
I think
I was super excited about that too.
both of us saw in our minds as kids. I can still see the exact shelf they were
my
on,
gosh.
and we didn't get them updated. He got all these new ones from his grandma.
Yeah.
We just had the one basic set.
Yes, the one dated year, right?
I mean, until the internet rolled around,
Yes,
and made
totally.
them obsolete.
But the idea that he loved to read so much, and that's how he would spend his time, was flipping through W of the World Book Encyclopedia, is very telling.
Yeah, it just showed he had a natural attraction to history and
Learning as much as he could.
well, as much as, and he said he's drawn to complexity. I love that he is drawn to complexity. He doesn't shy away from it, but becomes more curious about something. And while we're talking about that part, he says that he prepares because preparation is what he can control.
Yeah.
I very much fall into that as well. I sometimes, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, maybe I'm not smart enough or don't know enough, but I can learn enough ahead of time to prepare to make it at least look like I know what I'm doing. And maybe there's a little like imposter syndrome in there. But yes, doing the preparation is like the one thing that you can control.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah,
rest of it, you got to take it as it comes and hope that what you did before is enough to.
I really admire that about you because I know you do. You bring
thanks.
that to every aspect of your life. You do, and you're so good about it. You're very disciplined about it. I wish I had that.
A well-planned road trip to Yellowstone.
For example.
For
Yes.
example.
Can we tell?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
It's a little off topic,
Yeah.
but I took my 3 kids on a solo road trip to Yellowstone and was really intimidated by it. But if we want to keep it kind of on track with what Shon was talking about, I did a lot of research. How, for toddlers, where can I stop? How much time between stops? Eat, stay so that they can rest a little bit, get the wiggles out. And anyway, so I think that is an example, yes, of preparing. And that is definitely one thing that he highlighted that he's good at.
Preparing and doing hard things. That's really admirable. The other thing is, and I think we're running out of time, but I can't help but hit on this.
Yeah.
When you talked about, there is no balance. I wish we had more time.
And you have said that before.
To talk about that
in other episodes. I think of last season is focusing like there is a farce of balance.
Right. And he said something about he focuses on it's about scarcity and how you use the time that you do have together. And the myth of, we all have to eat dinner every night, we all have to do this. We have to make a list of things that we have to do because that's what close families do. And that's a myth. You do what works for your family and you do it consistently. And that's how you make it meaningful. But trying to force something, it's not possible
into
sometimes.
a box that someone else has constructed for all of us.
Anyways, that really that hit home with me.
One other last thing is paying attention to the seeds and not to the flowers.
Oh man, I was going to bring it up, but I couldn't remember how he phrased the gravitational photosynthesis.
I think
Did
that's
you not
a
write
very good. Yeah, I wrote pay attention to seeds, not flowers.
Okay,
I didn't write all the other
better,
words.
Okay.
But with the idea of the planting of roots and tending to the seed itself, because it will grow one way or another.
Right.
As we all do, outside forces of life will change us. But what can we do at the very basic seed of life to try and set it on a good path or make us good people.
So many good lessons with that conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed the glimpse into his backstory. Thanks, Shon.
Thanks, John. And thanks for watching, you guys.
Bye, everyone.